Welcome, everybody. I'm Random Randy. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to look at Goereme Turkey. Now, this is also known as Cappadocia. And the reason we're going to look at this is because, to me, guys, this place is looking very, very similar to the Grand Canyon. That's right. And, after quite the massive push by YouTube to put information about the Grand Canyon out there, thought we'd take a look at this. It's incredibly interesting, and this is one of the approved tourist destinations in the world that you and I can go to. This very quote ancient place, right? We can go and spend the night at a cave in Cappadocia. So this is approved tourist destination. Does that mean it's maybe not ancient? I don't know. Something interesting to note is they let you actually fly around in the air above it. So there must not be anything that you can see from above that would be sensitive, right? So some of these photos, guys, they just bring up so many questions. And a lot of this stuff looks like I was saying, it looks very similar to certain canyon areas we have in the United States. And if Cappadocia is as ancient as is supposed to be, is it possible that these areas in the United States that look the same are also super ancient? And is it possible that in the United States we have another root of civilization? I think that could very well be the case. And you know, that doesn't mean that it didn't take a very long time for this erosion and things to happen. I just don't think that our specific kind of time frame is correct. Now, does that also take away from the fact that this might have been a medieval place of worship? No, it could have been. But there's some interesting things happening with like the masonry right here. Is we have this like limestone infrastructure here, but then like flowing over it is this interesting, almost looking like asphalt, you know, which, hey, man, that could be volcanic ash mixed with water, mixed with rock, mixed with whatever. So maybe there was some massive volcanic event that laid waste to a lot of these areas, or at least helped to erode them. Sorry about the quality of this picture, but when you're digging through, you get what they give you. And I just wanted to kind of present this and see what some thoughts are on this. Do you think that the Grand Canyon area was as established of a like residency as this area in Cappadocia that we're shown? Like, is this why we're like not allowed to mess around in the canyon, or you really can't even get too close to Bryce Canyon? There's probably like only a road or two that can get there. So, and like, why would they not want us to know about ancient history? Unless it's something completely contrary to what we're being fed today. And I think that's probably the case. But I just wanted to share this with everybody. I really feel that there's more than just Cappadocia when it comes to like underground cities and things like that. The other thing is like, if this is all like eroded away or like turned to dust or whatever and falling apart, like what happened? Because apparently this place was sound and secure enough for these people to build all these crazy interconnecting tunnels. I mean, this thing goes way down underground. That's mainstream knowledge. Go look into it. Look up Cappadocia. You'll find all kinds of crazy things. I'm just sharing some of the photos with you guys here. So, does it mean that maybe in the past this whole thing was underground and like all of this has been eroded by some force, whether just nature or something more evil or dark, right? It's it's possible. And then people are like, all right, where did all that dirt come from for the mud flood and things like that? And then you see places like this all crazy heavily eroded away. you know what happened to the earth that was here, even with this all the way across? You know what I mean? Was it really subduction and all that stuff that's pushing this stuff up, or did something erode it away? And is erosion the only thing? Is platonics even a tectonics even a thing? Like, who knows, right? Anymore with all these lies in this world. But Cappadocia, guys, the approved vacation spot, approved ancient vacation spot. And look at how some of this stuff looks. So you can imagine if this whole thing was built out just like this, you know, like integrating into these underground areas. Why did they need these underground areas? The story we're told is like they needed to hide from the Christians. That's what we're told. Like if these Christians were just using swords and shields and horses, that might work, I guess. But like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Why would they hide in some place that has no exit? Or does it have an exit? Or are like these places connected underground and things like that? I personally think that there's stuff underneath our feet everywhere and we're just kept ignorant to it. So, like what eroded all this? Was it just time? You know what I mean? We've got this interesting outcrop back here. And in the past, the wealthy used to always head to the high ground and like camp out up here. They probably had a city with walls and all this. Then again, this whole entire place may have been a city with walls. We just don't really know anymore. Interesting white lime stone here, right? So, and you see these people clearly just built on top of what was existing already and kind of integrated into it. And some of this you can see still goes underground. It's incredible, isn't it? Like, what did this to the top of the like? This is looking melted, guys. And not to say that everything is a melted building, but these are looking pretty clearly melted. This stuff is looking oxidized, turned white. If this was all a yellowish limestone similar to this, what did this? Did the sun go berserker? You know, was it something with a lens in the sky? We know that sunlight by itself through a lens can cause a very similar degradation to stone as this. But like what happened? And did this same thing happen all around the world? Why aren't we told about this? Or are we? Or are we actually told about this? Are we actually told about this in things like the book of Revelation when it talks about like the apocalypse of fire raining down from the sky? So if you had some kind of fire raining down from the sky, it probably would do this, right? I mean, seems like it would. Or was it something different? Was it a frequency, a vibration causing liquefaction and melting at the same time? When we think of vibration, we often don't think of things like microwaves, gamma rays, and things like this, but they are vibration also. So that's the thought I just wanted to share. Cappadocia, I find incredibly interesting. It's just incredible. You know, uh, it looks like the whole place looks like poured concrete. And like, did they pour it from the ground up, like 3D printer style, and just wind up with shapes like this? Dude, these look like melted, right? Like, did these spires go all the way up? Were they using this to interact with the scalar field and things like that? Ancient hidden knowledge, that sort of thing. After doing some reading into uh, you know, what do you call it? Sacred geometry and stuff. I feel like these people were more in line with those subtle energy teachings than we are, which may be why they wanted to live in contact with the earth. You know, they'd be very grounded people. So that's just the thought, guys. And I wanted to share that with you. See what your thoughts are. If anybody's ever been to Cappadocia and seen these for themselves, let us know. Um, this is someplace I might have to suck it up, pay for it, and get out there and check this out because it's incredible. But what would be super upsetting though is if there's similar structures to this right in my own backyard in America, you know, and we're all being pushed to go overseas to see these ancient types of ruins. So, when you look at this, it's like, okay, did nature carve this out? Like, really? We would be told it was like ice covered everything up and scoured all this out. I don't know. But one thing I will point out is like sometimes you get a boulder sitting up on top of like a hill or something, and it will erode around it like in a weird sort of way. Like this acts like a capstone or something. So like were they erecting their own like capstone stuff here? Was there an entire layer above here where like the elites lived at the time or something? And was like the decimation that happened to this place intended for those that were living up above? Like were they giants? What was going on? What was going on in the ancient world? What's even been happening in the last couple 200 years, man? It's crazy. We see the end result today, right? We've all got these machines in the palm of our hands. Like it's crazy. Is that like something that we saw taking place, like technology? Were we seeing technology taking place at a much larger scale? And we were like, we want that for ourselves. So we like took it over. Like, what happened? What's the real story? Clearly, there's like a side of the story that like is taboo. Otherwise, it wouldn't be covered up. It's such a crazy world, guys. Such a crazy world. I wonder so much about places like this. Places like this, why they're like showing us certain information, like, hey, you can come and hang out at this place. Like it's been approved, stamp of approval, UNESCO, stamp of approval, guys, going down to the sleeping cave in Cappadocia. You know what I mean? Were they really Ottoman? Like what? It's such a mess, guys. Of course, to the victor go the spoils, and the victor writes history and so on. But like, what does that really mean for our past? And are they just showing off all of this destruction? You know, like go and spend the night in the largest decimated populated area that we ever took over. You know what I mean? So that's the thought. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and share your thoughts, man, and keep an open mind because ultimately we know the stories we're given, but underneath all of that, there's the stories we aren't given. Now, do these stories kind of like stay in our subconscious, like our collective memory? I think that's an interesting concept and it may very well be true. That could be part of the driving force, right? Of why people are looking into alternate histories and things like that, or why even in the past people were keen on writing alternate histories in novel format. We see a lot of alternate histories, guys, by some of the greats, H.G. Wells, etc., so on and so on. Many of which having fraternal organization ties. So something to keep in mind. And again, I hope this information finds you well and have a great rest of whatever it is for you. Morning, evening, noon, night. Take care.